Morning, welcome to Southfield. Good to have you here today. Today is one of those days that I could not be more energized and more tired all at the same time. I mean, just a fantastic week of being together with the students and growing along with them, and at the same time just worn out. Because of the knee, I didn't do as many physical projects this year, but what I did do is arrange work for 2 rain days. You got 100 kids, and you got to figure out rain day projects. And boy, oh boy, the stress of that was phenomenal. At the same time, the opportunity was fantastic. So let me go ahead and just cover a few things before we get into what's happening here this morning. Every week, you have the opportunity to receive this weekend update, and the update is it just gives a couple of things that are going around Southfield that you don't want to miss. So, for example, yesterday said, you don't want to miss tomorrow. And I promise you, with the things we'll be talking about today, you'll say, man, I was glad I was here this particular day. Later today, we're doing Step Up. We have these 2 single-day seminars, so we do Step In and Step Up. We've moved it to single day. I'll explain that to the group later as they meet. But these 2 seminars not only give you a feel for what Southfield is all about, but they're also the path that we use toward membership around here if you choose to take that path. And so that's being offered today from 3 to 5 here at the church, and there is actually childcare available for that too. So a lot of people have already registered for that, but if you have not yet and want to, feel free to sign up for that. The other thing, I'm going to repeat it almost every week to the point that you're going to get bored, and that is that we have 2 more outdoor services this particular summer. So the weekend of the 4th of July and the weekend of Labor Day, we'll go ahead again and do that fun, all the church together. So on those days, there's no childcare offered, and you're like, well, my kid won't behave. They don't have to. We just have fun together as a church family. We enjoy the morning together. The main thing on those days is you need to bring a way to sit. So a lawn chair, a blanket, something like that. Have that along with you. That's really important. And then we'll actually be doing some baptisms as well. Just talking to 2 people this morning who said, Labor Day baptism, sign me up. So great to see that more and more people are wanting to identify themselves as fully devoted followers of Jesus by getting baptized. So you have that. This morning, we'll truly have a different feel about it. We're going to be having a time of hearing from some of our students who went along on the trip this past week. And part of the reason we're doing this today, I think, is it gives a chance for decisions and moments that took place to be solidified in the hearts and minds of the kids that participated. And there's a piece, I'll save it toward the end, but we've talked over and over again about our students are not the church of tomorrow, they're the church of today. And the way to make sure that they're the church of today is involving them in days like today. So I could tell you so much about this week. They had a lot of fun together. There's this one song that they kept doing over and over again to the point of making me I'll bet. Yeah. You pumped it up and now you're going to lay it down. Exactly. Yep. You may be wondering where that's found in the Bible. Hezekiah 3:17. Look it up. Hezekiah 3:17. It's funny. So there are things that happen during the week that are planned and things that are incredibly spontaneous. Adam Scharf.
So Adam Scharf, one of our...
Who, by the way, is just like so stinking amazing.
Incredible.
And with his name, Scharf, I can't wait till he has a baby, because I'm going to sing, baby Scharf, baby Scharf. Anyway, go ahead.
But he's not married.
First.
We got time.
Marriage first, I understand.
Yeah. Either way, yeah, Adam is an incredible student who went through our program. He actually came in a little late, but he stuck around throughout his college years, and he actually went to Texas to play baseball. And apparently the college baseball world was taken by storm by that song this year. So at one point, he was a part of the team that woke the kids up. And I guess Monday morning, he went with his phone door to door with that song blasting. And then I heard throughout the day, like, all the boys were like, oh, yeah, Adam came through with this stinking song on his phone. So what did I do? I gave Adam the speaker for Tuesday's Wake Up, and then it just became the theme of the week. And I think there was one dance party that we had where we literally went to each person, and like if you weren't up pumping it up, we got right in your face, made sure you pumped it up, and everybody did.
So they came to me, and I'm not kidding. They walk up to me. The room temperature rose by 20 degrees as they walked up. And that thing had to have gone on for 15 minutes.
Yeah, my shoulders are still sore from hoisting that thing and just pump.
So we have a lot of crazy and a lot of fun, a lot of things that create energy and life and whatever. It's an indescribable week, and we're going to try to describe it to you. We're gonna try to give you some of the pieces, and the reason I have this gang up here is because I think in many ways their lives were profoundly impacted by the week, not only by teaching and the opportunity, but the way that they really impacted each other has made a life-changing difference. So I want to start with just introductions. So we'll start. We had a different person up here during the first service. Riley Howard was up here. She couldn't be here for the second, so we asked Andrew to be up here instead. So Andrew's, all these guys are veterans of doing this. This poor guy, first time around, but he is gutsy and courageous, and he'll do really well. So I already gave him your first name, and you can give him the rest. All right?
I'm Andrew Coldwater.
And how long you been coming to Refuge and Revive, or whichever you started with?
I think 6th grade, so Refuge.
Okay. How many years have you gone to Green Lake?
3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
All right. Awesome. Guy next to you.
I'm Ryan Kuchar. This was my 5th Green Lake, and I've been coming since I was born, and this was the church my parents are going to. So.
I had a great moment with Ryan. This is really funny. So we have this picture of the kids, and it was taken. They're actually the back row standing on benches. It's a forest. It's being not renovated. What do they do?
Cleared.
Yeah, it's coming back. So anyway, this car goes driving by, and I look, and I'm like, holy cow, that looks like Katie Kuchar. And so I walk over and I say to Ryan, that woman, I can't believe it. She looked just like your mom. And he says, well, it is my mom. And I'm like, stop it. Stop lying to me. No, she came to pick up Henry for a baseball tournament. I'm like, okay, it's your mom. There we go. Next guy.
I'm Adam Brooks. I've gone to 4 Green Lakes, and I've been coming to the church since I was about 4th, 5th grade.
Cool.
I'm Gracie Sanders. This is my 2nd year at Green Lake, and I came last year without knowing anyone. And now I feel like these are family to me, so.
Fit right in. The fun part with Gracie, so you got this wiffle ball tournament going on, which is a lot of fun out on a tennis court, and Gracie's over challenging guys. Come on, play basketball. And listen to her. Listen to you kind of taunt these guys. It's
what, you
fantastic.
Scared? You scared?
Yeah, it's really fantastic. It's so good. I love it. Next lady.
My name is Julie Conroy. This was my 2nd Green Lake, and I've been coming to Revive since freshman year, so 4 years.
Cool.
Hi, my name is Audrey Lucian. This was my 1st Green Lake, and then I've been coming to this church since last summer. I went for my first service, and then I went to Revive that night. And I've been coming ever since. I've never missed.
Cool.
My name's Jenna Lakin, and I've gone to Green Lake 6 or 7 years. I don't really remember. And I started coming to this church when I was born.
Yeah.
My name is Brian Papp. I've also been coming here since I was born. And this is my throne. I've been notified that it was cleaned by hand by the work crew that brought this to me. So I had to eat a lunch while sitting on this throne, and Riley has not enjoyed the fact that I keep threatening to put this at our dinner table. We'll see. I'll work on her.
So part of what's cool about Green Lake is that you have these buildings that are really, really old, and Green Lake has this nasty habit of never throwing anything out. They save everything. So you can wander in these old buildings and find fun ancient junk and have a good time with it. So you had a very good time with that. Wow. So the typical day looks something like this. We get up, we eat breakfast, not in the dining hall, but together, our own breakfast. And then we head out to work for a few hours. Little challenging this year because we had 2 days that were pretty solid rain. And we wanted to make sure that they were still working and that it was meaningful work. So some of the things they did on rain days were like open up buildings and whatever that need to be open for the season as guests start, and they needed a deep cleaning, things like that. So there was a lot of that kind of work going on. But tons of projects. I wish I'd have counted. We had to have done at least 50 projects in that place. And they're projects that are really making an eye-appealing difference. Things like, the front of this old inn that they have, we ripped down some fencing that was kind of leaning and hiding, weeds all over the place. There was junk that just needed to be cleared out of there. And every person now walking up going, wow, this looks so fresh, it looks so nice. Things that would take up time for the staff and take away from their normal work, we come in and blast that kind of stuff. So we'll be going through a list of the stuff that we do. Afternoon is all play, and whether it's a time to go play with just kids you gather with or organized group events. They had a big old slip and slide one day, throwing color paint at each other. I had to laugh. I didn't put it on the screen, but one of the girls, I saw her Friday morning, and it looked like fungus growing out of her ear. Her ear was nice and green. I don't know if it's not nice and green anymore, but anyway, it was nice and green. And then in the evening, after dinner, we come back for a teach time. And this year, the theme of this year was, Brian?
Who's got it?
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Fan into flame.
Fan, yeah, on the shirt, actually. There you go.
Jenna.
What are you fanning, Jenna?
I'm gonna have a brain fart. You are trying to fan your flame for God and keep it going, not just have a little flame there when you first start going like a campfire. You want to keep it getting bigger and bigger.
Yes.
Brian chose 1 Timothy 4:7, which that verse has had 1:7, had a huge impact on my life. I was a pretty fearful kid growing up. And I go off to camp, and there's this guy who shares this verse. Fan into flame the gift God has given you. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and sound mind is the verse I used to, but self-discipline. And so we broke down all three of those things every day. What does power look like? What does love look like? And self-discipline look like as you're fanning into flame the gift God's given you. So I'm curious, just starting with that one, anything significant that came out of the teach that's kind of something? Oh, go ahead.
You can't ask them what they learned before we do what we started every teach.
I'm sorry.
So
see, I always forget about it. You got to rename it because I always forget about it. What's the name?
Every single teach that we walk in, my goal, my personal, Brian's goal of these trips. Obviously, it ties into work and everything, but I want every kid walking away having made at least one new connection. So I force those connections, and I do it in all kinds of weird and crazy ways. So before we establish those connections with each other this morning, I do need to present the final Green Lake Purple Heart. What we had this year, it's a new tradition due to a special story that happened. The Green Lake Purple Heart is handed out daily now to the people who were injured in the line of duty, whether that is during work or during play. Any significant injuries, we awarded a cotton candy prize, and we awarded a lot of them.
What you had to teach the kids, though, is that you don't want to earn it.
See, and that was the issue. We had kids, after they saw that cotton candy was the prize, they'd purposefully take a hammer and, no, stop. But this was actually all inspired. The first Green Lake Purple Heart was handed out to an adult, Tom Surges, who came along. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Bob Coyne has a sledgehammer, and he is just pounding away at the fence that you were describing. Mm-hmm. And Tom just thought, Bob, you're taking too long. So Tom comes in and in his infinite wisdom says, I'm just going to heave-ho this thing over. So he gets up there in one good push. I mean, I have it on drone video. It'll be a part of the video, I promise. You see him push this fence over, and the problem is that he was on a ledge as the fence was being pushed, and he didn't keep his weight back. So Tom goes with the fence and down and rolls over, but then like a good gymnast pops up and gives one of these. The problem was that something was bleeding when he popped up, and I saw it, and I was like, Tom, you okay? He looks and he goes, yeah, I'm fine. And then he comes over and tells me, Brian, rip it out. I'm like, rip what out? And he gets this close to my face and says, rip it out. And what's staring me now 3 inches from my face is a screw that's 3 threads deep. And I freeze as Tom, like a man, is just pull it out. I'm like, ah! I reach over, shaky hands. I'm like, it's a screw. Do I twist? And of course, I twisted the wrong way. I went righty-tighty, and he's like, bone. So he's like, no, pull it. I yank it, and I look at the blood. I almost pass out. Tom goes right back to work. I'm holding this screw with, again, 3 threads deep. He's like, yeah, it hit my bone, whatever. We got to finish this. I'm like, So that night, we awarded Tom the Green Lake Purple Heart, and the final Green Lake Purple Heart has to go to someone who is going to pay a price for their service today, and I mean today. You see, Callie Rucka, at the end of the trip, I'm going to let her tell the story, but she got injured, and here's the thing. Callie's used to getting kicked in the shins because she plays soccer. Usually those shins are protected, so when those shins aren't protected, Callie, would you just tell us how that happened?
I slipped trying to jump on the dock, and I cut my shin.
Yeah, but see, this does not do it justice. This injury, when she crawled out of the water, water makes blood worse, right? It makes it look worse. It looked like there was a gator up there that had just chomped a hole in her leg, and it's gushing blood. But now, Callie has to go play in a soccer tournament today where everybody's going to be kicking right in that region. She's very worried about it. But you know what? Can we all give her a round of applause for the hard work, dedication that she put in? Callie's going home. Don't walk away yet. Callie's going home with her Purple Heart prize. It's one of those inflatable couches. You take it outside, get some wind in it, and seal it up. And she's already told me the first place you plan to use it is on vacation with some special people that we know.
The Kyles.
Yeah, so she's going to see the Kyles in the Carolinas. She's going to bring that with her and have a lot of fun. So,
awesome.
Callie, good job. Thank you very much.
Moo. So the other one?
Yes. Once we started our teaches, after the Green Lake Purple Heart presentations, we would begin with something that I called the don't forget about it, all right? Again, this goal of establishing connection was not just pulling kids up or leaders up and saying, this is what they did throughout the day, but it's actually making them physically engage with each other. They were told you have to stand up and find someone that you haven't talked to yet. So it can't be a sibling. It can't be your best friend. It can't be your roommate. It can't be someone in your work family. You have to go find someone brand new that you have not spoken to yet. It doesn't matter how old they are, how young they are, how smelly they are. Some of them were smelly. You got to go ask a question, and usually those questions are pretty goofy, but we have a couple of stories to share with you based on the question that I'm going to ask you. So you, adults, you don't have to get up and move around and find someone, but if you would, politely turn to the people next to you, whether they're down the row or whatever, go scoot a little closer and share what is the strangest thing or the most gross thing that you've ever eaten. And if you have a specific camp setting story, share that with them. We're going to give you about 60 seconds to share those grossest thing you've ever eaten or put in your mouth. Go.
What you got?
Man, the kids are better than you guys. That's yeah. What was it? Quiet Coyote? Yeah. I learned all about that this week. So at camp, you eat some unusual things. The kids know that there's only one thing on planet Earth that I will not consume, and that's pickles. So I don't know, have you guys seen A Christmas Story where Ralphie says, my mom hasn't had a hot meal in 10 or 15 years or whatever. She's constantly serving others. I haven't had a quiet meal or a non-pickle meal at Green Lake in 10 years. Right. Because it's just constant, hey, Brian, I'm putting a pickle in your ear. I'm putting a pickle down your back? And I live with pickles around me all the time. So that for me is gross. But some people decided this year to engage in the camp tradition of consuming worms.
Worm eaters.
Yes.
Worm eaters.
And does anybody remember Riley's story that they want to share? Go ahead, Julie.
So Riley that was up here earlier, it was her first year. and
Not
she-
Riley Papp.
Different Riley.
Different
Have you
Riley.
said her
Riley
last name? Howard?
Howard, yeah.
Howard. It was her first year, so she's never seen like the worm eating, and she thought that everyone was playing a prank on her. So she's like, yeah, I'll do this. So she goes with like a huge crowd of people doing it. But when she put it in her mouth, she hid it under her tongue and was like, okay, when are we spitting this out? But then puts her hand over her mouth when she realized they're not spitting it out. So then she had to swallow it after.
Yeah. And then just to double down on that, right after that, Jay had returned from Jay Smith, one of our other awesome Revive leaders, had just returned from his work detail and heard that he missed out on the worm eating, but he found out that we were all wimps and just swallowed it. You want to get those worms straight to the stomach acid as quickly as you can so that they're not, like, you don't want that in your mouth for any amount of time. And Jay comes over and he goes, Brian, you got to do this again with me, but this time we got to chew it. Oh. I'm like, no. I literally look him dead in the eyes. I go, Jay, no. I know. He goes, come on, 10 chews. That's it. 10 chews. I don't even chew my food 10 times. Okay, even if it's a delicious steak, I'm not chewing 10 times. He's like, no, 10 chews. You got to do it. So, of course, Kenzie walks over. She's got this literal, handful of worms. She pulls out the juiciest, fattest, slimiest nightcrawler I've ever seen. Hands it to me, and she goes, okay, go ahead. So I pop it in my mouth, and Jay and I sat there and chewed. Never again. Never again. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's gross.
I don't remember who it was. I think it was Katie Fink comes walking to me. You need a worm? Like, no, I have common sense. But then I remembered that I had done a teach like a night or two before on courage and facing your fears and whatever. I'm like, how can you teach about courage and not do the first thing that scares you to death? So I got to tell you, you put a worm in your mouth and your mouth immediately goes bone dry. And you're kind of you want to get that thing down fast, and you're trying to work up spit, and it's not happening, and he's saying hello. And for the rest of the day, I knew how Jonah's whale felt. I'm wondering how he's doing down there. It was,
Awful stuff.
A wonderful tradition. I don't think I'll repeat, but it was fantastic. It was good. You mentioned that a piece of doing that talk is connecting. Mm-hmm. And I love one of the connections that happened this year. We moved away from all the 6th graders go do this, all the 7th graders go do this, to all the kids were divided into a work group of 5 to 7 kids, something like that. And they had this one person that they were with all week long in the work time. They'd check in with them at meals. They'd check in with them at the teach time, and then they'd do the fireside chat, which was kind of the application time of the story together with them. Those connections were amazing. But I think the other connecting that takes place, the beautiful connecting that takes place between high school and junior high, who are in every context of life normally separated, different schools, all that sort of thing. And so throughout the week, you have, especially like during that question time, you have that kind of connecting. I thought this image made my week, okay? This is Ryan having a conversation with Nick, a 6th grader. Would you look at Nick's face? I mean, it just says it all, doesn't it? This guy who's on the stage playing the guitar, gonna be a senior, came and talked to me. He's not gonna forget that. He's just not gonna forget that. And that's the kind of stuff that takes place throughout the year, or throughout the week. It's so small and so huge. And it just happens again and again and again, including for me, the chance to have, some of you are like, man, pastor's gone for the week, what if? Hey, I'll tell you what, it was such a valuable time for me to be with these students, the life I get from them, as well as the things I was able to share with them. But then it struck me, of our 7 overseers, 5 of them were with us the whole week. Now think about that. 5 leaders who could be, off at work doing anything else are there with our students. One of them drove kids up and drove kids back, and the other one is a major part of day camp. Mm-hmm. These aren't guys who go that's ladies' work, or they're kids who cares. These are guys who realize they can make a difference and an impact in lives by being with our students. So it's all about the connecting. And so we try to create these opportunities for connection.
Yeah, I had a parent email me quite literally on the night before. It was at 10:45 p.m. on Saturday with a list of concerns and worries, sending 2 kids and, just first time away. And it was an incoming 6th grader and incoming 8th grader that was coming along with us. And one of the concerns was, my newbie, my 6th grader, are they really going to be with college kids the entire trip? Like, I know that you bring all these kids. What's going on here? That kind of makes me nervous. I don't know that I necessarily trust that influence that they might be providing to my kid. And do these older kids serve in a mentorship role? Are they assigned a kid? Or how does this work? And my response was quite simply, no, they are together, they intermingle, and none of them actually throughout the week are assigned, you must speak to a 6th grader, you must go hang out with the smelly 8th graders, you must go do this. It just happens naturally because we have a group of kids that have been through Green Lake after Green Lake themselves, or even if they haven't, they see the contagious impact that they can have just by doing what we saw Ryan doing in that picture, walking up and engaging a kid, making them feel loved, wanted, needed, and like they're a part of the trip. And it's memories that will be had forever. So we have a really cool group of kids.
So on a 900-acre campus, 120-year-old buildings, some of them, there's a lot of work to do. The work is quite literally never done. And the staff that they have, just like every other organization right now, they're limited in staff, and they've got things they've got to do every day. So there are projects that they'd love to see get done, like getting the blue paint off a patio, things like that they just don't have the time to get to. So when we come there, we descend like a swarm of bees, and we just start going at stuff. So starting down there with Jenna, tell us, what projects were you involved with this week?
The first day my group, in the rain, the guy was like, only the garden crew is going to be in the rain, and then we go outside and we're in the pouring rain, which made it more fun. But anyways, we scrubbed the algae off the awning of one of these buildings, and then the second day I told Pastor Dennis that we wanted to move sand, and it was a lot more work than we thought, so we had to get a lot of extra help to finish that. And then the third day we did some deep cleaning. A lot of us cleaned the windows, which was a lot of fun for me. I don't know about the other girls though. And then the last day we replaced all the light bulbs in the dining hall.
So the deep cleaning, there are buildings that have to be opened up for the season, and they hadn't opened them up yet. So they got in and did those. And Jenna cleans windows here. She loved cleaning them there. And she'd be willing to be hired out to do your windows. So she's great at it. Audrey.
Okay, so the first 2 days and the last day, I was out in the rose garden with the garden girls.
The garden girls.
And we were moving these old wood chips and hauling them across a hole. It was a mess. And then we put down cardboard and then put down new mulch. And then on the third day, it was just my work family. We went up to the penthouse of the Roger Williams Inn, and we took down wallpaper.
So one of the things I love every year, it seems like there's a group that gets a nickname, not really, we didn't design it ahead of time. Last year we had the Scum Squad, we've had the Garbage Guys, things like that. The Garden Girls came this year, and they got this rose garden that was literally designed 100 years ago. The rose bushes aren't the same, but it's been there a long time, and a lot of weeds, needs a lot of care. And so these girls get released in that area, and they're not quiet at all. They're singing, they're chanting, they're doing marine chants. When they're pulling the mulch on a tarp, they're chanting it out like it's crazy. And I love this because I know the vice president of finance there. She said, I'm sitting in my window and it's right by the garden. I opened my window just to let the joy in, because there was so much joy, so much cheerfulness coming from that group of kids who were working. And they were working with joy. And I love that piece of the infectiousness that takes place. You have a staff And very often, it's a culture that they're all together all the time. They don't, they're not, after a long winter, they've not seen a lot of other people. And so to have the infectiousness of a bunch of teenagers who are joyful, boy, by the end of the week, we see the staff smiling too. It's amazing. So, Julie, what did you do?
I did the same exact things as Jenna. My only other comment is while she was living her best life doing the windows, I was in charge of scooping out every dead bug out of the window. But we still made it fun. Just wasn't as much fun as Jenna.
How many did you eat? Julie, how many did you eat?
0.
Good.
Missed opportunity
Good,
for protein.
good.
All right, so the first day we moved couches that had some rats in them in the rain, so that was fun. And then the second day we stained the benches. Come to find out, stain does not come off as easy as you like it. And then the third day we did some cleaning, and then the last day we finished the benches and then helped you with the ladder.
It was funny because, she had painted some war paint on herself. Gracie had war paint on herself. I walk up and like, do it to me too. So she paints it on, and then I'm like, it's stained. Is it gonna come off? It does with makeup remover. I have a new habit now. So anyway, interesting.
Yeah, so me and Ryan were in the same group with Tom Surgis. And so the first day while it was raining, we were inside changing fluorescent lights to LEDs. The second day, we went to start tearing down the fence in front of the inn. The third day, we went back to finish the lights. And then the fourth day, we were supposed to be outside finishing the fence. But I got to skip that and change the lights again with Julie and Jenna's group, even though they didn't really need me. I just wanted to be inside.
Awesome.
Getting practice as a union supervisor, yeah.
And he makes that light changing sound pretty simple, but in the lodge that they were working in, they actually went in and bypassed the ballast. So they learned how to do that, were taught how to do that wiring, and then replace the bulbs, which obviously is going to reduce the energy costs throughout that building, as well as just now they have consistency of color. Very often 3 bulbs in a fixture were 3 different colors, or there was only one that was alive or whatever, so you have the consistency of color, and it looks amazing. And you learned, we got that to do around church here too, so we're going to have a little work project. It's going to be fun. Right. Okay, all right. Yeah.
I was in the Dave Pappish cleanup crew. We pretty much just cleaned up garbage for all the other groups, even if it was raining out. He made us wear 55-gallon garbage bag ponchos and Ziploc bags around our heads. So.
And without question, this is truly one of the favorite jobs.
It's a really fun job.
You get to drive around picking up, whether it's debris from a building or buckthorn or whatever, and Dave, I'll tell you what I loved. So Dave gave a lot of you guys a chance to drive the truck, which the Green Lake staff wasn't very happy about, but I don't care. I mean, I thought it was phenomenal that you're getting a chance to, when they said something about it, I'm like, do you want future staff? Yes. Then shut up. They're having fun, and, it's obviously safe, and, you're a safe driver, right? Yeah. Good. See? It all works. So a lot of things to learn. It's just amazing.
Yeah, there were a lot of really awesome work project teams that were out there. And if you were in 6th grade, if you were a part of one of the buckthorn crews, could you stand up real quick? 6th grade buckthorners, you guys, unbelievable job. You guys very clearly, all right, you can sit. You guys very clearly did the best job that any 6th grade team has ever done. In the past, if we go back to the days like when Nikel was a 6th grader and that whole crew, they'd cut off little limbs like this and, ow, this hurts, and they'd complain and whine and try and take naps in the road. It was a mess, but you guys were cutting off branches that I don't even know how you were cutting them down. They were like the length of the stage.
They were carrying trees.
Yeah, and dragging them out, no complaints. Every time that I'd pass you guys, it was happiness and joy, and that doesn't make sense to me because buckthorn hurts, but you provided that crew, the cleanup crew, a lot of work, so great job. Now you'll get to instruct next year's 6th graders on how to do it right, so good job.
Did you learn anything in working? Was there any new skill you learned or anything you learned about work?
Well, I learned a lot about changing lights from Tom because I knew nothing about doing any of that. So he basically, he walked us through every step, and that's kind of like a new
I mean,
life skill.
Easily the first half hour was just a tutorial on what to do, what not to do, all that sort of stuff. He came back and inspected literally every wire nut, everything, made sure it was done right, and just a lot of great teaching that goes on. Anything else you learned from working?
I can say, even if the job is really hard and you don't want to do it, because we did it 2 days in a row, and on the second day it got really bad, but I can say if you have a speaker and an amazing group of girls, oh my, we can get so much work done. And we sang our hearts out, we danced, it was so much fun.
It was very cool. I loved it. What was the funnest moment of the week? What was the funnest thing for you?
Here's the moment. So in the first service, we didn't get to mention it, but Adam and I, the first night, so there's 2 chairs in the corner of our room that we stayed in, and Adam goes, "Man, this would be good to start a podcast." And so we just did it. We just sat down. And so Right Sock Cornercast on Spotify. There's 1 episode up right now.
Say it again.
Right Sock Cornercast on
Right Sock.
Spotify.
Right Sock.
Listen now.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So they're having
incredible
guest
stuff.
hosts throughout the week, or guests. It was pretty amazing. Really cool. Funnest? You got one?
Me and Kate and Uphoff the last night stayed up the entire night, and we found just about every person that was sleeping on the boys' floor and took pictures of them sleeping, and it was pretty fun.
There were some pretty good.
It sounds creepy,
pictures,
but there's an
yes.
Instagram whose leader shall remain unnamed. But it's called Southfield Slumped. So if you want to see all those photos, Southfield Slumped on Instagram has all those sleeping child pictures. It's hilarious. It
Caden
is
brought
so
some fun energy to a lot of stuff he did. A lot of stuff he did. That was amazing. One other fun.
I got one. It's kind of a very little thing, but Megan Lakin, Annalyn, and Genevieve, I was walking past the room with Naya, and we just heard so much giggling that we're like, what the heck is going on? So we knock on the door, and we go, room service, and open it, and these girls are on the floor, rolling, just by themselves in their rooms, dying laughing, and we're like, what's going on? And they couldn't even get the story out, because they were laughing so hard, and it was just so contagious that, I don't know why, but it was like, you just saw all the joy in that room, and just them hanging out and meeting, like getting closer with the girls. And then as we left, Megan goes, I really thought you were room service.
Go to the other side. So this teach that we did, again, God has not given you a spirit of fear and timidity, but power, love, self-discipline. And courage is not an absence of fear. We all have fear, but it's facing the fear, it's leaning into the fear, and doing the right thing regardless of the fear. We talked about that throughout the week. I'm curious, is there a significant takeaway for any of you from the teach time?
I'll go first. So mine was on the courage and the power talk. I kind of said it last service, but that verse and the first way you said it with the sound mind, that's how I grew up saying it, and I kind of would say it before I knew the power behind it. And I'm a fearful person, so I say it in times that I'm fearful or have anxiety, and it's just kind of been like a practice for me. But then your teach kind of opened my eyes to seeing, your one line stuck with me, to pray for courage over safety. And I'm a person that's like, oh, I want to be safe, I want to stay back. No, I want to pray for courage, I want to go through that, and I want to be courageous for God, and you help me see that.
Years ago, I watched a sermon by Erwin McManus. I actually saw it live and have then watched it many times since. And he said, and it's true, when I grew up, there was a line that you'd always hear, the safest place to be is the center of the will of God. Tell the Apostle Paul that. It's not in the Bible. The safest place to be is not in the center of the will of God. It's the most dangerous place to be. It's the place you get the chance to light the world on fire for God. And so when we're sitting here wringing our hands, praying, God, keep me safe, or God, keep my kids safe, I think we're doing the exact opposite of what God desires. He wants us to be praying, God, make me courageous. Make us dangerous for your kingdom. And let's take that approach instead. Push away that cozy blanket of safety. Ask any of the disciples how safe they were.
Yeah.
They weren't living in safety, were they? Not at all. So what else you got? I better turn the ringer off.
Do you want the thing?
You can go.
Okay. Mine was also from Dennis's teach. He said the line, fear freezes us, but courage frees us. And I thought, that just was so impactful for me. just because the idea that you can overcome fear, and courage is a freeing thing. It's not. Sometimes it's hard to have courage, but it's freeing to have courage.
Yeah. I think our world is really, media, everybody else is constantly pushing. They love us living in fear. They can push things on us when we live in fear. And there's a freeing power behind being courageous.
Yeah, mine comes from the fireside chat right after your Teach on Courage. So we were just talking about all the different things we can do to be courageous and what that would look like. And so in our chat specifically, we talked a lot about just doing stuff we're not comfortable with and pushing our kind of just boundaries of what we're willing to do. And so next day, I think Wednesday, we had our chapel worship. And so, yeah, all the guys, me, Andrew, Caden, there was a bunch of other guys, I'm not going to name them all. We all got everybody. We were just jumping around, having a great time.
I love that because I think that expressing joy, most people think it's kind of cool to look slumped, to keep it in, and to be a person who's willing to take the chance of expressing joy, leading joy. I mean, I said this about Kira and Audrey. They're people who are willing to put their joy out there, whether or not it's going to be received. And the funny thing is, time and time again, they were like a flu bug. All of a sudden, everybody else was joyful too when they had the courage to just bring the joy. It's amazing, right? Yeah. Go ahead.
I'd say mine is probably very similar to Adam's, like in the courage part. Like usually, like you just stand around like clapping and singing, but like this week I noticed, like especially me, I was like really trying to like jump around and like go around to each like little kid and like make sure everyone's a part of the teach and like a part of the chapel at the start of it. So that's probably like the main takeaway for me.
Awesome. Good. Anybody else?
I liked Brian's third day about love, about how much God loves you, so you should love others. Because that night I had a bunch of junior hires being like, Jenna, can you do hair tinsel? Can you do hair tinsel? And then I had some other people wanting to use my phone to do some Just Dance, and I was like, okay, I'll do it for a little bit. And then more and more just kept coming, and I was like, I really want to go to bed or play games, but I remembered his teach about why it's important to love others, so we did hair tinsel for about 5 hours.
It's funny. For me, that was one of the best moments of the week when Brian used this example of how God just constantly loves us. And he used the reference to a dog, which I shouldn't give this away because it's a great future sermon. But anyway, how a dog is just that unconditional love. He said, what would happen if I went to my pickup and I locked up Riley and Griffey, their dog, in the pickup, put them in there for how long?
5 hours.
5 hours. 5 hours. He said, I'd open that hatch, and Griffey would come, licking, happy, Riley would not have the same sort of happiness. And I forget who I was sitting with, but they said, yeah, she'd be forming a shiv in there. She'd be ready to take him out. That picture of that kind of love, despite what happened, wow, what an image of God that created for me. I really needed that. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Really good. Anyone else? Okay, so I'd like to know, kind of wrapping it up here, what did you learn about you this week? I think that the reason we do this isn't to just get a bunch of projects done, and it isn't just to have a fun week away from home. It really is it's a formative moment. It's a chance for God to really begin to form something in you. So what did you learn about you this week? Do you mind if I start with you, Jenna?
Sure.
Go ahead.
I learned that even though I might have courage here, it's important to also have courage outside of church. So like I made a lot of impacts like with little kids and big kids and stuff, and I decided to go to college like a month ago, and I was planning on going to JJC, and I was kind of like, I felt God calling me to go, and I didn't really know why. But then in Brian's teach about spiritual gifts, and then Dennis's about courage, I realized it's important to go out of your comfort zone and start a flame in other people too.
Great.
Okay, so I learned this week when we had to teach about spiritual gifts, I could not think myself of anyone until Brittany and just a bunch of other leaders told me that I was the light and like I spread that throughout like everyone, even the little kids. And I also had some leaders come up to me and say that like I'm such a good role model for like my sister and the young kids, and that just like I never knew I had that in me. So now that like I know that about me, I'll just like always keep it with me.
Awesome.
I think that is one of the greatest things about this week that has changed with those work families, you know, getting to talk and learn about each other and about ourselves from those work family leaders. They were asked to do more than any work team has before. I mean, be at breakfast, and then you're with us, and you're with your kids, not just working, but also doing all these, you know, fireside chats and listening to the teachers and doing everything, playing in the games and fixing boo-boos.
Come to the meeting at 11 if you could stay awake.
Yeah. And getting tinsel in your hair and doing like everything up until the very last, the last moment where everybody's, you know, heading off to bed. So those work families, I mean, that right there proves you guys made a huge impact.
Go ahead, Joe.
So mine was kind of the same thing as I said for the last question because I mixed them up. But one thing that, again, you helped me realize is I consider myself a very fearful person. And even though I've been trying to work through that, you really helped show me where I am courageous in ways that I like wouldn't consider it.
You are.
Going along with that, I think it really helped me, like when you had that teach on courage, like, and you pointed out everyone how they are. I think that really helped me, and it opened my eyes to realize I'm not gonna lie, I probably wouldn't be up here right now if you didn't have that. I was like, you sent me that, and I was like, oh, like, I don't know, but I was like, he said we have to have courage, and you pointed out that I had courage, so.
I'm deadly afraid of heights. I mean, and it's funny, it's not, I can go to the top of, you know, Sears Tower, but, you know, that, or standing in the middle of the mall. And so we're on top of Roger Williams, and they're like, let's sit on the ledge. I'm like, no. Oh, you taught about courage. Okay. So, yeah, do it.
My thing, I know last service I talked about how I kind of realized I should be praying for others, but I think Jenna said it really well and put it into context where she had to stay up, she had to let the kids use their phone, she had to let the kids put tinsel in her hair, and it's kind of just small stuff like that I think of, like, I forgot who it was, but he came up and he asked to use my hat, my new hat, and I was like, it was right before the slip and slide. I was like, I'm gonna give this back, right? But I gave it to him, and it was just the small things like that. I think it was.
It's beautiful. It's good.
Mine kind of goes off that picture that he put up there earlier, but just like the power that I have to kind of spread kindness, and just the way that kindness can spread throughout a group of people like that. I realized that I kind of have that power because I never really thought of myself as a particularly kind person. I mean, you can ask my mom, but I realized that I have that power to either use it to be kind or to the opposite.
Yeah.
I think I like really realized about like stepping out of the comfort zone this week and like not really being afraid of like what people think no matter what you do at like church camp, like being able to put it all out there and not really care what anyone thinks about you. And I think I kind of realized like how much we brush off on like the younger kids, and like it's not always about doing like what we want to do at camp, but like what God wants us to do for them and like show them during that time.
Every one of these kids had an amazing moment throughout the week that I got to witness, but I got to call Andrew out right now. Part of the reason again, Riley was up here first service. Part of the reason I went to Andrew is because that kid, I mean, every single time that a job was wrapping up or a room was getting moved or something was happening, Andrew came to me or to another adult and said, what else needs to be done? He was the last one out of the room every single time. While everybody else is going to jump in the lake, while everybody else is, going to play sand volleyball or whatever, Andrew came up time after time after time after time. Hey, what else do you need? What else do you need? How can I be helpful? And I finally at one point said, Andrew, I don't have anything. Go, get out of here. But that spirit is infectious, and it really carried the group this week. So
I want to share something with all of you, but I'm directing in this direction because I think it's true of all of us. I'm watching all of you this week and kind of taking in who you are and trying to remember what it's like to be 15 and all that sort of stuff. And one of the themes I kept hearing all week is, I don't know, it was painful at sometimes to hear it, but to just hear how many of you feel like you're all alone. Like, you're it. You're alone, and there's nobody likes you, nobody wants to be with you, and that sort of thing. And I kept hearing that and thinking, wow, for one thing, it's funny, I hear this from 50-year-olds too. So it's not like it's unique to teenagers. But I was listening to that, and I thought, the thing about being alone, there are things we only learn from God when we're quiet and apart. And I think so often we're in the middle of the party, we're in the middle of the fun, we're in the middle of all of that, and we can't hear anything because all the fun's going on the whole time. And so I would not always look at being maybe alone as a curse, but it's really a gift from God, a chance to be able to connect with him more and think more about what's going on in the moment. But then beyond that, don't always wait for the invitation. You see the group going off, just go join them. Just go. Just go be a part of it. I think too often we wait for the invitation and it doesn't come, and then we're rejected. No, they just weren't thinking or whatever. Just go along. And I think a huge piece, think about what your face is doing. When you're not smiling, when you're looking grumpy, most people are like, why would we ask anyway? But it's amazing how when we just turn our smile up, how that in itself, it's so inviting. It brings a person in. So it says in the Bible, literally, to have a friend, one must show themselves friendly. What does it mean to show yourself friendly? Don't look like you're about to bite a person. Think about what your face is saying and go for that. But the other thing that I was hit by, and this happened primarily, whether I was teaching and watching you teach, and by the way, when I'm teaching, I can see you and what you're doing, and I can, but also sitting at the back and watching. And it was impressive to see the number of kids who are leaning in, listening, taking notes, and the number of kids who are just having a great chat with each other and ignoring everything that's going on. And at the same time, they come up afterward, that was really good, thanks. I'm like, you didn't hear a word. What are you saying? Thanks. Polite, but you kidding me, really? This verse kept going through my head all week long. And Jeremiah is speaking, actually God's speaking this. Jeremiah writes this as the people are turning away from him. Stop at the crossroads and look around. Ask for the old godly way and walk in it. Travel its path and you will find rest for your souls. Every one of us is always at a crossroad. Every day we're at a crossroad. Sometimes we're at a real significant life crossroad. Jenna's at the life crossroad, so is Julie, of high school's done. What now? It's a big life step crossroad. Sometimes it's a character crossroad. I promise you, I did it, and I know everybody did it here. When we're in that later high school time, we're trying on different personalities to see which one fits. Who am I going to be? That's a crossroad. And we have to decide, are we going to go a godly direction or another? I heard more than once kids basically saying, yeah, I go to church because mom makes me. You're at a crossroad. You can decide that God's going to be a part of life, or you're going to throw him away. And if you choose to throw them away, what a waste of a life. What a waste of a life. So constantly be looking for the crossroad moment and then asking yourselves, what is the other version says, ancient godly way? There are good things to be learned from that really old Bible and from really old people. So the thing I find interesting is the reply, but they replied, no, that's not the road we want.
And that's really where we stopped on Thursday night, our final teach, where we brought it in and started talking about self-discipline and what does life look after camp and the different paths you can take. You can either say that you had a great week this week, or you can actually take the things you've learned and the person that you've become and the people that you've shaped and come home with that and carry it on. I want to just point out to parents, the kids that came with us, the kids wearing red shirts, or if they were too dirty to wear them today, not wearing red shirts, but they came. Stop babying them. Stop babying your kids. Because the thing that I realized about myself this week, and this is going to sound like reclusive and upsetting, it's not. It's a joyful thing. I didn't need to be there this week. I loved yesterday, in between my 14 naps, opening up Instagram, and every time that I did, there's a new post. And everyone is unique. there was pictures with different kids and doing different things, and the captions. I mean, Aubrey Lakin's caption, if you don't follow Aubrey on Instagram, go do it and read what she wrote, because it was beautiful. Seeing the movement that God has throughout this week is truly incredible. And your kids can handle it. They can handle being challenged with work. They can handle being challenged spiritually. They can handle being challenged with their character. Don't baby them, because whether they're a 6th grader or a senior, they can handle it. And I had the opportunity to break down our group into 2 groups. And at the very end, I said, guys, I want you to stay here. Girls, I need you to go outside, because as we talk about this, I want to do this in a special way, and I want to basically tell you what I would tell my first kid, because as of December 18th, Riley and I are going to have our first child.
Pump it up. Pump it up.
Will you let your dogs bark for a second? Will you let your dogs bark and let me?
What are you doing?
I'm going to need a pair of these bad boys here pretty soon. Those are fresh. I mean, it's not the New Balance, but you know what? That's pretty clean.
These are my church sneakers.
So,
welcome to the neighborhood.
But the thing with that, it was really special for me, because I got to talk to the boys and say, you know, God calls you to courageous manhood. He calls you to leadership. He does not call you to be a wimp. He does not call you to sit in the shadows and let everybody just, run you over like a train. You're supposed to stand up, and you're supposed to stand up for the right things, and you're supposed to stand up for the people that you are leading. And then, the guys took that. It was like, yeah, pumped up, let's go, yes. We even took a knee as we prayed, and it was awesome. And I send the guys out, and the girls come in, and completely opposite.
Oh, my word.
For
So
25
much
minutes, just wiping snot in their eyes. But that too is beautiful, because I was able to say, girls, the world is going to tell you that you have to do it all, that you have to, that you have to work, because men can't hold you down. You can't just stay home and love your family. You have to be out there and do whatever you have to take control, because it's women's time now. And that's not what the Bible professes either. It doesn't say that women are weak. Quite the opposite. The Bible tells us that women are the glue. We looked at Titus chapter 2 and learned my life would be completely different if I didn't have that glue sitting in the front row in my life. And I said, at some point, you're gonna be able to be that glue for some family, or if you're not blessed with a family, for some church family, and that starts right here, right now. So take it home and do it. So just again, what I learned about me is this week, I didn't need to be there, because these kids, I mean, they are so ready for the kingdom and to lead for the kingdom, and they're so wildly impressive. And I love this family.
I do too. It's 11:30.
Yeah, sorry.
So
Nothing new. They're used to it.
want to do a song? All right, come on up, music people.
If you got a red shirt on, or you came with us to camp, you better get your butts up front, because we're going to jump. We got a pit.
Let me say this as they go down and as the as they go down and the team comes up, guys, seriously, quiet a second. This is important. The group that followed us after camp was an old denomination that's on the verge of death. Everybody that was part of that conference, not to be insulting, was old. They were old. And they were not cheerful. They wouldn't even say hi. They were lifeless. And it was sad to watch. And this morning you come, if it's your first time, sorry, come back next week, it'll be normal. But you may come this morning and go, why did I even bother to come? All I did is hear a bunch of kids talk about their camp week. We say it over and over again. Kids aren't the church of tomorrow, they're a church of now. And what we did this morning glues in the hearts commitments that have been made this year. And it's just vitally important. So I'd like you to stand with us and share in some worship that's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, do it.
In my wrestling, in my doubt, in my failures, you won't walk out. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Oh, you are the peace in my troubled sea. In the silence, you won't let go. In the questions, your truth will hold. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Oh, you are the peace in my troubled sea. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. My lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore. Safe to shore. Safe to shore. Safe to shore. I won't fear what tomorrow brings. With each morning I'll rise and sing. My God's love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Oh, you are the peace in my troubled sea. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. My lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore. Safe to shore. Safe to shore. Safe to shore. Fire before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storms. Fire before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storms. Fire before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storms. Fire before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storms. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. My lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore. Safe to shore. Safe to shore. Safe to shore. Bring your tired and bring your shame. Bring your guilt and bring your pain. Don't you know that's not your name? Oh, you will always be much more to me. And every day I wrestle with the voices that keep telling me I'm not right. That's alright. 'Cause I hear a voice and he calls me redeemed. When others say I'll never be enough. And greater is the one living inside of me than he who is living in the world. In the world. In the world. inside of me than he who is living in the world. Bring your doubt and bring your fears. Bring your hurt and bring your tears. There'll be no condemnation here. Oh, you are holy, righteous, and redeemed. And every time I fall, there'll be those who will call me a mistake. That's okay, 'cause I hear a voice and he calls me redeemed. When others say I'll never be enough, and greater is the one living inside of me than he who is living in the world. In the world, in the world, and greater is the one living inside of me than he who is living in the world. Oh, there'll be days I lose the battle. Grace says that it doesn't matter, 'cause the cross already won the war. Learning to run freely, understanding just how he sees me, and it makes me love him more and more. There'll be days I lose the battle. Grace says that it doesn't matter, 'cause the cross already won the war. I'm learning to run freely, understanding just how he sees me, and it makes me love him more and more. 'Cause I hear a voice and he calls me redeemed. When others say I'll never be enough, and greater is the one living inside of me than he who is living in the world. In the world, in the world, and greater is the one living inside of me than he who is living in the world. One more. There'll be days I lose the battle. Grace says that it doesn't matter, 'cause the cross already won the war. I'm learning to run freely, understanding just how he sees me, and it makes me love him more and more.
This season of Green Lake and Camp started with us taking 14 days to fast and pray. And our prayers are still sitting on the platform near communion every week. Every time I get a chance to talk to kids, I'll tell you the theme they're going to hear from me again and again: courage, courage, courage. I hate to say it, I am part of the baby boomer generation, and we have handed our children a stinking mess. Said, we had fun, now you pay. And it's going to take courage. It's going to take real courage to lead. We're going to need godly men and women, leaders in this generation to come. So we're going to leave with communion. And the way I'd like you to do this, picture of the group is going to be on the screen. And I would love for you to find one of those faces and pray that God would make them a godly, bold leader. You might know them by name. If you don't, just pray for the kid in the red shirt, okay? but pray. And then go to communion and commit that kid to God. And then you just go ahead and walk right on out the door. Now, do be aware, some people are going to linger a little bit longer, so don't turn this into like a bustle time of conversation. Save that for out there. Take some time to pray for our kids. Pray that God would make them bold and courageous, not timid and fearful. God, that is our prayer for our children and for all of us. We would be bold and courageous, that we would realize that you have not implanted us a spirit of fear and timidity, but power, courage, love, and self-discipline. Help us to live that way every day in all the fearful things we face. In Jesus' name, amen. So if you need to, go ahead and have a seat. And then, no Revive tonight, by the way. And there is also Cristiano's Pizza left over in the gym. All right? Go ahead.
wins the battle. You see my victory. When all I see is the mountain, you see a mountain move. And as I walk through the shadow, your love surrounds me. There's nothing to fear now, for I am safe with you. So when I fight, I'll fight on my knees, with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Every fear I lay at your feet. I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Belongs to you. And if you are for me, who can be against me? For Jesus, there's nothing impossible for you. When all I see are the ashes, you see the beauty. Thank you, God. When all I see is a cross, God, you see the empty tomb. So when I fight, I'll fight on my knees, with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. And every fear I lay at your feet, and I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. An almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadow, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. An almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadow, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. An almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadow, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. So when I fight, I'll fight on my knees, with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. And every fear I lay at your feet, and I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. And oh God, the battle belongs to you. And oh God, the battle